A really strong hackathon project can still look average if the PPT makes the judges work too hard to understand it. And this is such an easy mistake to make. We have spent days building the product, you have features, you have screens, research, architectures, APIs, future plans, and naturally you want to show all of it. Because you're thinking, if we remove something, what if the judges think we did not do enough? We have thought exactly like this. We have made idea submission decks, detailed technical decks, prototype round decks, and live final presentation decks as well. And this was the biggest lesson. Your hackathon PPT is not a storage for your entire project. Its job is to help the judges understand what matters, trust what you have built, and evaluate you against the competition's actual criteria. That applies whether they are reading the deck alone during a submission round or watching you present it live during a final round. The format changes, but the goal stays the same. That is, make the value of your project impossible to miss. So in this video, I will show you how to decide what belongs in your PPT, what judges actually need to understand, what you should remove, and how the same project should be presented differently in different rounds. And the first step has nothing to do with choosing a template, trust me. So before you open Canva, PowerPoint or Figma, open the judging criteria, because the rubric is basically the organizer telling you this is what you need to prove. Different hackathons use different words, but they often evaluate some combination of the problem, the solution, innovation, technical implementation, functionality, validation, impact, feasibility, scalability, and sometimes business viability or presentation quality. But the priority definitely changes. A technical AI hackathon may heavily evaluate how you used the required model or platform. A social impact competition may care more about the beneficiaries, accessibility, implementation, and measurable impact. A corporate challenge may care about whether the solution fits the company's actual users, workflows, and constraints. So do not begin by asking what slides do hackathon PPTs normally have. Ask, what does the specific hackathon need us to prove? Make a simple table. On one side, write the criteria. On the other, write the strongest evidence you have. For example, problem relevance, interviews and some credible statistic. Technical implementation needs architecture and a working prototype. Validation needs feedback that changed the product. Impact, pilot result, target, or implementation plan can work as well. For the team, show the relevant experience and who is building what. This immediately tells you what deserves space in the main deck and what does not. Maybe you are spending an entire slide on market size when business viability is not even being scored. Maybe you have 3 slides listing technologies when the judges really need to see whether the workflow works. The rubric is not something you check at the end. It should shape the presentation from the beginning itself. And this is where generic advice becomes misleading. People say never use too much text. Your deck should have exactly 10 slides or only use visuals. But the right answer depends on the round. For a submission PPT or PDF, may be read without you. You're not there to explain the diagram. You cannot clearly clarify a vague heading. You cannot tell the judges that one feature is planned and another is already built. So the document needs to stand on its own. That may mean more explanatory headings, slightly more written context, visible sources, clear labels, and enough technical detail to establish the feasibility. This does not mean filling every corner with text. It means the reader should not need your voice to understand the argument. One of our idea submission decks was for an AI teaching companion for teachers handling multiple grades in the same classroom. The deck needed to explain the classroom problem, what the agent would do, how the teacher would use it, and why the solution was different. Some slides were dense. I would never use the exact slides during a 5-minute live pitch. But in that round, the judges had the PDF, not us explaining it. So for the prototype or technical round, now the main question becomes, what did you actually build and how does it work? This is where you may need architecture, implementation status, technology choices, testing, limitations, iteration, and the proof that the product exists beyond a design. So, moving on to the final live pitch. During a live pitch, you are part of the communication. The slide does not need to say everything because you are the one saying it. The deck should support the pitch, it should not become the pitch. You can use fewer words, you can replace several screenshots with one strong demo, and you can move technical details, sources, and extra screens into appendix slides for Q&A. The final deck we used during Samsung Solve for Tomorrow was much more selective than some of our technical decks. But that does not mean fewer slides automatically win. And I cannot claim that the deck was the reason we won. The real reason is that it had a different job. A detailed deck can work very well when it is being read and terribly when projected behind you on a stage. A clean live pitch deck worked beautifully during a presentation and still be too incomplete for an asynchronous submission. Your round, rubric, and time limit decide the density, not a random rule online. The 5 things every judge needs to understand. Instead of memorizing one compulsory slide order, think about 5 doubts your deck needs to remove. Is this real important problem? The judges need to understand who faces the problem. What happens today? Why does the current process fail? What consequences does that create? Weak problem statements sound like there is a lack of efficiency, transparency, and accessibility in the sector. That could describe almost everything. A strong problem statement is specific. For our sports project, the problem was not simply India has hidden talent. It was that mainly athletes outside major networks had no reliable pathway to build visibility, find relevant opportunities, and be evaluated by the scouts. That gives the judge a user, a broken process, and a consequence. Because both of us had spent years in competitive sports, we also used our own experience to explain why the problem was personal. A personal story can help, but only when it proves that you understand the problem. Do not force an emotional story into the presentation just because people say storytelling works. You can also use a persona, an interview, or a real workflow. In one of our other projects, we had 2 users, an organizer managing some event and a participant or a volunteer trying to join in. That helped us understand both the sides. We also listed almost every possible pain point for both the users. And when everything has the same visual importance, the judge has to decide which problem is central. This is your job. Humanize the problem, but do not multiply it until the solution appears to fix an entire industry in one weekend. Use the evidence very carefully. You may use a statistic, an interview, time lost, financial consequences, an observed workflow, or a missed opportunity. But every number needs a purpose. If it is external, source it. If it is your estimate, label it. If it is a target, call it a target. A statistic should prove the problem, not decorate the slide. And what exactly are you building? This sounds obvious, but many decks never clearly answer it. They immediately start listing AI coach, chatbot, dashboard, gamification, notifications, recommendation engine, blockchain somehow. We all have been there. And by the end, the judge knows the project contains technology, but they still cannot explain what the product is. One of our finance hackathon decks had several modules: a learning coach, a lead radar, live sales co-pilot, CRM automation, and a growth engine. There was a lot of product thinking. But several large modules appearing at once made the central promise harder to repeat. So explain the solution in one sentence first. Use this formula. We help this user achieve this outcome through this mechanism. For example, an AI teaching companion that helps one teacher prepare and manage lessons for multiple grades. Now the judge knows the user, outcome, and the type of solution. Then show one workflow, not every screen. For example, the teacher uploads a textbook page. The system creates different material for multiple grades. The teacher uses it in class, progress is recorded, and the system recommends the next lesson. Or an athlete creates a verified profile, uploads performance footage, receives analysis, finds an opportunity, and becomes searchable by a scout. That is much easier to understand than 12 disconnected screenshots. Your login page is not the product story. Your settings page is not the product story. Show the transformation, not the menu. Moving on to, is it real and can it work? A polished screen could be a working application, a clickable prototype, a static Figma design, or a planned feature. Those are not the same. So label them honestly. Built, partially implemented, designed, planned. A judge may forgive an unfinished feature. What damages trust is presenting a mock-up as if it works and then being unable to explain it during the Q&A. They know it all. Proof may include a live demo, a recorded backup is fine, one working end-to-end flow, a functioning API, a technical test, or user interaction. And you do not need to demonstrate everything. Show the moment where the user's problem is actually solved. A smaller, complete workflow is easier to trust than 10 disconnected features that are almost ready. Architecture can also build technical trust, but architecture is not a collection of logos. React, Firebase, Gemini, AWS, Python, Figma, Canva, Spotify. Apparently, a useful architecture slide explains what enters the system, what processes it, where does the data go, which component performs the important function, what does the user receive, and why does the selected technology matter. If the hackathon requires a sponsored technology, show where it is actually used. Do not place the logo in a corner and hope the judge gives you marks for downloading the PNG. We have been there. For technical panels, you may also need privacy, security, latency, cost, or model limitations. For an early idea round, a simple high-level flow may be enough. The architecture should remove confusion, not create another puzzle. Then comes the validation. So validation does not require thousands of users. It can include user interview, expert feedback, prototype tests, surveys, stakeholder conversations, or a small pilot. But everyone liked their idea is not strong validation. A stronger story is, we believed this, we spoke to these people, we learned this, we changed this. During our next play project, we initially focused heavily on athletes. After speaking with experts, we understood that scouting problem better and expanded the project into a stronger two-sided system. Validation is not praise, validation is learning. Moving on to, why is your approach different? Please do not write, we have no competitors. Even if there is no identical product, users are already solving the problem somehow. They may use WhatsApp, Excel, social media, manual processes, another platform, or simply do nothing. Those are still alternatives. So explain what happens today, why does that fail, and what becomes meaningfully different with your solution. Maybe your difference is lower cost, better access, local language support, offline use, or a complete workflow, better data management, or a genuine technical innovation that truly does not exist right now. Avoid vague words such as unique, revolutionary, scalable, and AI powered unless you show what they mean. The clearest differentiation is usually a before and after. So what does the user do now? What do they do with your product? What becomes easier, faster, cheaper, or more accurate? And then moving on to, why should this project move forward? This is where impact, sustainability, roadmap, and team credibility enter. But the answer changes by competition. A social impact jury may care about beneficiaries, accessibility, implementation, stakeholders, or measurable outcomes. A startup style competition may care about who pays, adoption, the market fit for it, business model, and growth. A technical challenge may care more about performance, novelty, implementation, and the next engineering milestone. So label the impact honestly. Many decks put completely different claims under one heading, our impact. But these are different. Current result tested with 5 users. External statistics can be taken from a report. Target should be, reach 5,000 users. Expected impact, reduce reporting time. So label them correctly, whatever it is. You do not lose credibility by saying something is a target. You lose credibility when a target is presented as if it has already happened. Show the next steps. The judge may want to know what will you build next, who will test it, what remains incomplete, who would adopt it, who pays if relevant. A realistic next step is more convincing than we will scale globally and transform 1 billion lives. So during our next play project, we initially focused heavily on athletes. After speaking with experts, we understood that scouting problem better and expanded the project into a stronger two-sided system. Validation is not praise, validation is learning. Moving on to why is your approach different? Please do not write we have no competitors. Even if there is no identical product, users are already solving the problem somehow. They may use WhatsApp, Excel, social media, manual processes, another platform, or simply do nothing. Those are still alternatives. So explain what happens today, why does that fail, and what becomes meaningfully different with your solution. Maybe your difference is lower cost, better access, local language support, offline use, or a complete workflow, better data management, or a genuine technical innovation that truly does not exist right now. Avoid vague words such as unique, revolutionary, scalable, and AI powered unless you show what they mean. The clearest differentiation is usually a before and after. So, what does the user do now? What do they do with your product? What becomes easier, faster, cheaper, or more accurate? And then moving on to why should this project move forward? This is where impact, sustainability, roadmap, and team credibility enter. But the answer changes by competition. A social impact jury may care about beneficiaries, accessibility, implementation, stakeholders, or measurable outcomes. A startup style competition may care about who pays, adoption, the market fit for it, business model, and growth. A technical challenge may care more about performance, novelty, implementation, and the next engineering milestone. So, label the impact honestly. Many decks put completely different claims under one heading, our impact. But these are different. Current result tested with 5 users. External statistics can be taken from a report. Target should be, reach 5,000 users. Expected impact should, reduce reporting, expected impact, reduce reporting time. So label them correctly, whatever it is. You do not lose credibility by saying something is a target. You lose credibility when a target is presented as if it has already happened. Show the next steps. The judge may want to know what will you build next, who will test it, what remains incomplete, who would adopt it, who pays if relevant. A realistic next step is more convincing than we will scale globally and transform 1 billion lives. Moving on to why this team. Your team slide should explain why you can build this. Not list everything you have achieved since school. Show who built what, relevant technical skills, relevant domain experience, and access to the users or problems. The team slide is evidence. So do not end with only thank you. You can still say thank you, but reinforce the one thing that the judge should remember. Who benefits, what changes, why does this project matter? The final slide should not introduce feature number 17. What should you remove? Very important. Now comes the painful part, editing. Look for the same problem explained twice, or every individual app screen which is not needed, login and profile pages that are completely not needed in your PPTs, long feature lists, generic tech stack slides, technology logo collection, weak market numbers, paragraphs you will read aloud, long biographies, or future features shown as current. And technical details no criterion requires. Do not ask only, is this information useful? Ask, is this the correct place for it? Some details belong in the main deck, some belong in the demo, some belong in the appendix, some only matter during the Q&A. For one of our technical decks, we included many separate wireframes. That proved product depth, but in a live presentation, Several of those screens could have become one workflow or one demo. That's what we did. The work was not useless, it was just better suited somewhere else. Cutting information does not mean hiding effort, it means controlling the order in which the judges experience it. Moving on to a flexible structure. There is no universal winning template, but if you're completely stuck, start here. Title and one-line explanation. Problem and target user. Evidence that the problem matters. Current process or alternatives. The solution. Then one clear user journey, or include a demo or prototype proof. Technical credibility. Validation and iteration. Differentiation. Impact, sustainability, or the next steps. Team and closing. Then adjust it accordingly. Merge slides, remove sections, change the order, add architecture when technical implementation is core, add a business model when visibility matters. Use more explanation in the submission PDF, use fewer words and a stronger demo during a live pitch. The framework helps you begin, the rubric makes the final decision. Before finalizing any slide, ask yourself, which judging criterion does this support? Which doubt does it remove? Is this claim proven, sourced, or assumed, or projected? Should this be in the main deck, demo, appendix, or a Q&A? And if I remove it, what actually becomes unclear? Because a strong hackathon PPT is not the one with the most information, it is the one where the right information is impossible to miss. The judge should not have to search through the deck to understand why the problem matters. They should not have to decode your architecture to believe the product can work. And they should not have to remember 15 features to explain what you built. Your job is not to show everything. Your job is to guide their attention towards the evidence which matters. So before you open Canva and start moving boxes around, open the judging criteria, because the best place to begin your presentation is not one slide, is not the slide one, it's the judging criteria. It's the judging criteria rubric. Hope this helps, and see you next time with another sort of this video if needed.